Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television, live from my headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Babila Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news, as the Anglophone crisis continues deepening further, at least 3 persons are killed, several buildings destroyed, or better still, set ablaze by unidentified persons in the Kumba District Hospital. The incident occurred earlier today in that part of the crisis-hit southwest region of the country, and hundreds of thousands of young people hit different ceremonial grounds across the Republic of Cameroon to celebrate the 53rd edition of the National Youth Day, with calls on young people to be hardworking and to take action, not only to improve on their living conditions and fight problems like rising unemployment, but also to change the political scene of the country. At least 3 persons are reported dead and enormous material damage recorded in a fire incident that occurred earlier today in the Kumba District Hospital. The fire incident, the cause of the inferno, is not yet clearly identified, and the hand behind the inferno is equally not yet identified until now. But enormous material damage has been recorded that health amenity crumbled, as Manjikan Gabriel report.
It's 3 a.m. in Kumba, chief town of Meme Division. The district hospital is in flames. Later during the day, the effects of the flames was very visible, with casualties. First, a woman who couldn't run as a result of the flames was burned into ashes. The district hospital theater was also badly hit by the flames, alongside the men and women surgical wards at the hospital. Added to that, the vehicle of the doctor on call was also destroyed beyond recognition. Apart from the hospital that was affected, the staff quarters was also attacked by the inferno. As a temporary response to the sad incident, patients who were admitted in the wards that were affected have been transferred to the Family Planning Unit, PMI, of Kumba. For now, no one could say the real cause of the flames as investigations continue. It should be recalled that Kumba is also touched by the ongoing crisis in the 2 English-speaking regions.
And of course, Kumba in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon is one of the areas hardest hit by the ongoing socio-political and security crisis that has been pulling on for close to 3 years today. And the 2 Anglophone regions have been in a lockdown for close to 2 weeks today. And the lockdown was intended to frustrate the celebration of the 11th of February, and of course to mount pressure for solutions to the ongoing crisis that has been threatening the country's unity and territorial integrity, and of course the peace and stability of the country of President Paul Biya. In the upcoming report, our Boya-based correspondent Derek Jato paints the town of Boya, southwest regional chief town, yesterday.
This Sunday morning, the 10th day of February 2019, a church in Boya, the southwest regional capital, is yet to welcome a worshipper. And it is not only here or in this church. Elsewhere, the church gate is not even open. In this other church, some few Christians came to worship, and amongst them, a Christian youth leader who said he came to thank his God.
I believe that we need God more than ever. It's not been easy staying in the house for more than a week. So we continue to pray, and we believe God that in due time He's going to hear our cry.
He will encourage those at home not to waver, but to hold firm, for God remains the only way out of the Anglophone crisis.
So I just want to encourage you, if you not make it in church, there's no crime and there's no judgment, but you can still go through your Bible or your lessons at home.
Critics say the security situation has taken everything from the population of this capital city of the region. And this is how the town has been for 1 week now, with people compelled to stay indoors. And this is how we saw Boya on a Sunday and the eve of the 2019 National Youth Day celebration.
And that is the situation in most parts of the Anglophone regions of the Republic of Cameroon, as the Anglophone crisis continues deepening further, leaving several persons dead, wounded, arrested, or subjected to torture as a result of the deepening crisis. And this has been going on since October 2016, when lawyers and teachers took to the streets with some revendications which later quickly switched to an armed conflict, leading to the increase of military repression on the ground in order to bring the situation under control. And the celebration of the 53rd edition of the National Youth Day took place today amid tight security in some parts of the two Anglophone regions of the Republic of Cameroon. The celebration was not as usual because of the unstable and uncertain socio-political atmosphere reigning in those two regions. And yesterday, the President of the Republic of Cameroon, Paul Biya, was addressing young people in his traditional Youth Day message, in which he highlighted a number of efforts or measures undertaken by the government to solve some of the problems affecting young people, including the Anglophone crisis, of course, and which is affecting young people, as well as the problem of rising youth unemployment in the country. Smanjikan Gabriel comes back to the President's speech.
18 minutes was enough for the President of the Republic of Cameroon to recall the problems that are being confronted by the young people of Cameroon. Recalling the past elections that took place in Cameroon, the President of the Republic told the youth to be more involved in politics.
The year 2018 was marked by the holding of the presidential election, in which you participated with enthusiasm, either as voters, candidates, or actors in the electoral process. Such participation is encouraging, as it shows the keen interest you have in the affairs of your country. This interest should be reinforced and sustained. It stands out from a practice that is now common on social networks and the source of worrying excesses.
In his own particular style, Paul Biya didn't miss out to invite the youth of Cameroon to engage in agriculture, which according to him is a sector that will remove the youth out of unemployment.
Nearly 4,000 projects have been developed in the agricultural, industrial, digital economy and innovation sectors, and adequate financing also provided.
In his speech to the youth of Cameroon, Paul Biya says the emergence of Cameroon will be done with Cameroonian youth who don't consume hard drugs.
You will also have to avoid yielding to idleness, which can lead to bad habits such as delinquency and alcohol and drug abuse. The government will have to take urgent measures to wage a merciless war against these ills that are destroying our youth and which, in the long run, will threaten our country's future.
By ignoring institutions like PRC and PAGE-U created to train young Cameroonians that have failed, Paul Biya announced that he created professional training centers in all the 10 regions of Cameroon that took in 4,000 youths in 2018. Paul Biya said his government will continue to double their efforts to see that youths will be employed. A message many youths say is a repetition.
And I told you earlier that the celebration of the 2019 edition of the National Youth Day took place in a tense and uncertain atmosphere in the Anglophone regions of the country, notably as a result of the Anglophone crisis and the current lockdown. Innocent as has more.
It was Youth Day, but the euphoria that characterized ceremonial grounds across the National Triangle was absent in Anglophone Cameroon, notably Bamenda, Mezam Division, chief town of the Northwest region. Lockdown and threats did not permit most parents allow their children to converge on ceremonial grounds. Streets were deserted as usual as early gunshots rented the air, sending panic waves across the town. As a result, only a handful of students from the University of Bamenda and some other secondary schools in the town took part in march past activities after the governor's arrival at about 10:20 a.m. at the grandstand. Reports say gun battle began when separatist fighters attacked military vehicles heading to the Commercial Avenue grandstand. Gunshots were reportedly heard in Mile 6 and 7 Mancon, below Foncha and other localities including Mulang, where a civilian was killed, as well as at Old Simplicity in Tarinkon Bamenda, where another life was wasted. Information from the Mbengui grandstand in Momo division of the Northwest region says not up to 100 youths answered present. Most of those who replaced the youths were divisional delegates and service heads. Many persons, including youths, reportedly dressed in the CPDM fabric. Tight security around the ceremonial grounds in Anglophone Cameroon was order of the day.
In the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, thousands of young people from different primary, secondary and higher institutions of learning converged on the May 20 Avenue to celebrate the 53rd edition of the National Youth Day with messages brandished by the students and the pupils who were marching past in front of the Minister of Youth Affairs and other authorities at the May 20 Boulevard, preaching unity, peace and stability in the Republic of Cameroon, and also calling on all to shun violence and things that would destabilize the country. Now here's an extract of the Minister of Youth Affairs and Civic Education, Monuna Fotso. Take a listen.
First year we have lived here a fantastic parade of young people, starting from primary, secondary, extracurricular and youth association young people. So I think probably this parade was boosted by the message of the head of sales. They'll be committed to fight against those ills. And now what we expect is the implementation of the theme of this 53rd edition of Youth Day along the year. And we are there to accompany those young people following the message of the head of sales, asking them for more participation, more engagement, and seize the great opportunities he offers to them during this mandate of great opportunities. Thank you very much.
Here in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, thousands of young people, students, pupils, and of course coming from basic education, secondary education, and higher education establishments converge on the Beseke Valley ceremonial ground and other parts of the city to celebrate this edition of the National Youth Day. In Bonaberi, Douala subdivision, we caught up with a politician, Serge Espoir Matomba, first National Secretary of the United People for Social Renovation Peace Political Party, who said young people must rise up and take action in order to solve the problems affecting them and to change Cameroon. Young people in Bonaberi, Douala 4 subdivision, showcasing Cameroon's rich cultural heritage, as diverse as the plethora of problems plaguing the youth milieu in the country. As they marched past the Bonaberi ceremonial ground, a politician, Serge Espoir Matomba, first National Secretary of the United People for Social Renovation Political Party, says as they grow up, they must take action in view of finding solutions to issues like the rising youth unemployment, hardship, social ills, and others.
We cannot expect something to be done by somebody else. Youth have to take things in their hand and act. The matter of saying that youth in the future is very limited. If youth are not doing what they're supposed to do today, so that the future should be better. So what I have to say to the youth today is to act, to take things in their hand and believe that they are the ones who have to build this country.
My school, Gateway Bilingual Nursery and Primary School, Bonaberi, I think they stole the show. They are our leaders of tomorrow. So you can see them demonstrating their leadership qualities as they march. While pupils and students are urged to work hard, youths of voting age are exhorted to be politically active, especially before and during the upcoming elections in Cameroon.
The youth have to participate so that the country should change. You know, if they are thinking that if the head of state will make things change, I want to let them know that they are just fooling themselves. They are the ones who have to participate so that our community, you know, our, how we call it,
that they are members of a church. If that is the case, they will be freed. The Douala 4 Divisional Officer, Jean-Marc Ekwambarga, reminded all persons wishing to participate in such events to identify themselves and get registered prior to the event. Coming up, Immaculate Fogui takes a look at the problems that are plaguing the private sector of education in Cameroon, notably the problems and challenges faced by teachers of the private sector in the country. Immaculate Fogui.
Education plays a critical role in the socio-political development of a country. But those who are in charge of transmitting knowledge are facing several challenges.
Private education teachers, they have many problems, ranging from working conditions, and they who have been teaching for 10 years, who are not immatriculated in the CNPS, they don't have any allowances.
He further says that most of the teachers on the field have little or no pedagogic training.
Private education proprietor, he likes to get teachers without quality. He just picks from left and right. You say you have advanced level, you have O level, I can teach. He just takes you. And when he's using, you know that you cannot speak because you do not have the training that permits. And normally, if you have been teaching for some time, the employer has the obligation to send you for training so that you can update your knowledge, because pedagogy is dynamic.
He explains that with such recruitment done by owners of private institutions, the quality of education sent across to those in need of knowledge is questionable.
When the teacher does not master the child's psychology, pedagogy, the strategy of passing the information, he is obliged to give the child marks. You find a child with 15 average and the child cannot write his name. So the quality of education is very low. At the end, today we are saying that standards of education are low. That is the consequences nationwide, everywhere. You have people who have baccalaureate, advanced level. You ask him to write an application for a job. You need to see what is there. We have samples of those things in our offices.
In a bid to combat their challenges, these teachers' trade unionists converged in Douala to find solutions to problems affecting teachers in the private sector. The Congress was held under the theme, Private Teachers and the Promotion of Quality Education. One of the participants explained to us the importance of being registered in a trade union.
When we come together, being in a trade union, we can fight for ourselves and we have an upper hand, which is international bodies, which will really help us to forge further, to really have our forceful right that we really need.
These teachers called on private school proprietors to improve the working conditions of teachers, their recruitment mechanism in a bid to enhance the quality of knowledge transmitted to learners. They also urged other teachers to belong to trade unions that define their rights.
And this is where we draw the curtain on this edition of the news on Equinox Television. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Happy National Unity.